let's go over the navigation tools. I would recommend to use shortcuts instead of icons. I mean, you can always go over the icons, look them up, or go over the menu, but it's a much better practice to use the shortcuts and remember them. Of course, it's a bit annoying when you change from one software to another, because then you're using the shortcuts from the other software. In the case of Macs, the shortcuts are now known as hotkeys. So if you go over the internet and check for shortcuts for Macs, you are probably better off checking for hotkeys. And you actually have in Macs a Maya mode to use some of the Maya shortcuts, but I wouldn't recommend it because it's not all of the Maya shortcuts. So it could be a bit confusing. Most of the things in terms of navigation in Macs are going to be with your middle mouse button. Okay, so middle mouse press, holding press, it's panning. Middle mouse scrolling is zoom in and zoom out, and it's of course a bit jumpy. So if I want to do it softer, then it's Control-A, middle mouse, and it's a lot softer. To rotate is Alt and middle mouse. Okay. Now I'm rotating in the whole view. If I want to rotate around an object, then I select the object and then middle mouse and Alt. If I want a very specific rotation, here are all of the navigation tools actually. So I could select the orbit and be more specific to just rotate horizontal or vertical. If I click anywhere, it's just going to be like holding my middle mouse and Alt. To zoom all the objects in the scene, let's say I'm here, just with set, it will zoom extend all the objects. If I just want to zoom extend on some objects, then I select them and set, and it zoom extends in those objects. Same if I select just this one. The visibility on the viewports. We have, right now we are on the perspective view, and here if we click here, you can see all the other views, but instead of doing 2 steps, clicking on perspective and going on each view, we could alternatively go and press these letters. So T for top, F for front, L for left, and P to go back to perspective. Also, I don't have to go back to perspective to have it on perspective. I can be on top, rotate, and then I'm back on perspective. But if you see here, it actually says orthographic. So P for perspective, okay, U for orthographic. Now, if I want to toggle back to all the views, that's with Alt W, and I can do it in any of the views. Let's say this is top, this is front, and this is left. Okay, and this is going to be my perspective. One thing that is important to keep in mind is that in Maya, to toggle back from a viewport to expanding a viewport in and out is with a spacebar. The spacebar here in Macs is a tricky one because it's going to lock my object. So if I click on an object, you see here the selection lock tool. If I press the space bar, it's gonna, I cannot select anything else. So if it happens to you, you know that it's because of the space bar. Now I'm gonna expand my viewport again. Zoom extend on all of them. And what if I wanna see this in a wireframe? So here as well, you can have facets, wireframe, edges, faces. The typical ones that we would like are wireframe and maybe edges on the faces. So for that, with F3, I can toggle from shading mode to wireframe. And once I'm in shading mode, I can toggle between having the edges on the faces or not with F4. To isolate an object, this is actually one of the nice tools that I like in Macs, and when I use any other software, I usually add this functionality because I find it quite useful when my scene starts to get cluttered. So to isolate something, I can alternatively do it here on the right button click menu. Okay, there is isolation, isolate selection, or Alt Q. You could right button click end isolation or unhide all.